Thank you.
Well, welcome to the meeting of the Town Council Cemetery Committee. Big welcome to any public that may be watching, and a welcome to all the councillors and officers who are at the meeting as well. So we will start the meeting with no more ado. Any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest? All right, I'm hearing nothing, so I assume that we have none. So we'll move on. Apologies for absence. I think
we're all present. Yes,
we're all here. Yeah, thank you. And move on to the 39420, the minutes. And there's a slight error on the agenda there, because it says the minutes are for the 9th of July, and we actually held the meeting on the 16th of July. That was the one where we skipped forward. So we look at the minutes. Has anyone got any comments on the minutes?
No.
Just got one thing that I would like to say. 14120, the very last item, it says at the cost of £465 to come from the, and then finishes. So I think we were going to say which budget or which pot of money that was going to come from. I know these have already been accepted by the full council, but it might be good for us to record there.
Yeah, I'll liaise with Ros and updates.
Yeah, I can't remember where that pot was. Ros might remember, but we've got the recording of the meeting anyway, haven't we? So we'll know what was said. Yeah. So apart from that, I'm quite happy, and so we will, unless there's anybody got any other comments, we'll move on to 39520, cemetery officers and burial administrators update. So I think that's over to you, Ros.
Oh no, Nick.
Oh, to Nick. Sorry. Yeah. Over to Nick.
Okay, yeah. So as you can see on the screen, obviously I've made a small report. We had a health and safety fire risk assessment carried out on the chapel, and that all went with flying colours. No raise of concern. The only recommendation was that if we do carry on in the future, obviously after the COVID situation of doing the Christmas service in the evenings, we would have to install emergency lighting. But that was the only raise of concern really, and a few little signage issues which has now been dealt with. All the heaters have now been inspected and passed again with the gas inspection. So health and safety is all up to date with those bits for the chapel. The other bit was the state memorials. We've been around now and checked all the memorials that are staked, and just made sure that obviously they're secure, with an ongoing thing of obviously making the decision further where we go with those. The Victorian beer has now been restored, as you can see a picture on the screen there. So we've now had that put back as it originally would have been. So that's had some minor works done to it, and now is available for sort of decorative purposes. And also, if anybody wanted to have that for a funeral as well, we could obviously now bring that back into use. Cemetery lawn plots, we are currently inspecting those. We've got quite a number now that are not conforming to the rules. We have an increasing amount of vases and pots and receptacles appearing. I've been working with Kerry, and we're now putting letters out to the relatives of those, just to let them know that obviously there is a lawn cemetery rule in place, and we're now going to try and reinforce that. All the complaints for the site, we had one complaint come in recently, and that was regarding a tree adjoining to the cemetery. We had a tree surgeon come out and inspect that, and he's given a report back, and there is no work required apart from a bit of trimming up with some dead wood, but otherwise the tree is in healthy condition, and he recommends that no work is carried out on that tree. And that's the report.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. Have we got any questions on that? I'd just like to say how lovely the beer is looking. So that's that's David, a really good job there. Thank you.
David, was there a mention about the grass cutting? I didn't hear it if there was.
What about the
only He's concerned if it requires 1 or 2 more cuts of grass this year, which, you know, is something important.
Yeah, that was another thing. Obviously, we've spoken to the contractor. They've agreed with us that we possibly have cut it a little bit early on that cutting, whereas most sites would normally go to the end of October. They do currently owe us 1 cut because of the weather was bad and they couldn't get on site to cut. So they're hoping to get that cut done, and that should see us through for this winter. But ongoing for the next coming sort of season next year, it might be something that we possibly have to look at just adjusting and maybe paying a few more cuts, just obviously to keep that in control, ready for the winter period and seeing it through to the spring.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else from anybody? If not, we'll move on. Have we got something from Kerry? Is Kerry with us, actually? Yeah, Kerry is.
Go, Kerry.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, Kerry.
So obviously our burial figures are quite low for this year, and by the end of October, we will have had 32 coffin burials, and we'll have had 27 ashes interments.
Okay, and how does that stand up from what previously we've had? It's a bit quite a lot lower, is it? Or
yeah, it is. You know, we're not even halfway to our total of 70 per year we're allowed.
Right. Okay. So it's good in some ways, but we'll be moving on to budget soon. So.
We're very pleased for the residents of Thetford that we're having less deaths, but it does impact on the budget.
Yeah.
Because this year, I think we would have made a slight excess over income, but we are very pleased that people are healthy.
Right. Okay. Any questions from anywhere on that? Or comments? Okay. Thank you very much for that, Kerry. So we will now move on to 39620 budget update. And I think this probably is Ros looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, Alan does all the work.
Yeah.
So basically, the issue for us is that we've had a healthy Thetford and we've had a lot less burials than we normally would over the year. However, I've always found that when I've managed cemeteries in the past, somehow it always evens out. So it could well be that we have a busy winter because we've had a healthy summer. So at the moment, the budget's looking very down, and we'll see what happens as we go through the year, really. Yeah. Because we've saved significant amounts of money on our grass cutting and vegetation management. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, are there any questions from anybody? I've got one thing I just want to mention. Just one thing on this document, in the green column, where it says revised budget year to date. That year to date shouldn't be there. That is the proposed new revised budget for the whole year. So just for clarity, but I say proposed because this didn't go through at the last full council because the documents weren't in place for the councillors. So that will go through at the next full council. But that'll be our revised figures.
And just to say, in addition to the kind of the regular budget figures, we have got £30,465 projects to do the chapel toilets and the works yard. And we've got 16,473 for our new ashes burial area. So we've got those two bits as project money on one side as well.
Okay, that's good. It's good to know. So that money is in place so those projects can go ahead, which is great. Anything else on budget from anybody? Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to 39720. Which is the priorities for 2021-22. And have we got anything you need to say on that, Ros? I mean, we're
well, I think that it was kind of a review of where we're at now and thinking about what priorities we set for 21-22. I think
Excuse me for interrupting. I missed the whole finance thing because I dropped
Oh.
out of the time meeting. So I just thought I'd better inform you of that. But
Okay.
sorry,
Well-
carry on. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Well, we can just do a quick review on the budget for you. Can you hear all right now?
Yes,
Dennis?
thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
great. A couple of things we said was that in the green column, where it says revised budget year to date, that is actually the proposed new budget for the year, not for year to date.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
see the budget. I can only see priorities I've got on my screen.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's the budget for income. The new proposed budget for the year is 37,873 for income, and expenditure is 27,077, and they've changed from. Let me just have a look. So the income was originally 50,000, and that's reduced down to 37,873 due to the reduction in interments in the main, and the original budget for expenditure was 41,000, and there's now been revised to 27,000. So the expenditure is likely to be less as well because of reduced activity.
Well, thank you, David. Yeah, that sounds like we're still in the black, so that's good.
Yeah. And Ros mentioned about money that was in the projects budget, so that I can't remember the figures, but just saying that it was very healthy that we had the money there for the projects that we're currently looking at.
Good, thank you. Good.
Okay, so if that's fine, we'll move on back then to the priorities, 39720. And I think Ros was about to say a few things.
Yeah. So I think we are committed to doing the Ashes Garden.
Yeah.
So we've got in our budget, we've got 16,473 for that project. And the gentleman I spoke to today, he's going to be coming out very soon and do a site visit. So everyone's welcome to come and attend that. And I've also sent out the link for their website so you can see the products and things that they offer. So it'd be good to have a look at that before we have the site meeting. So I think that one it might get done this financial year. It might slip slightly over into the next one because they're a busy company, but so that could be carried forward if have to be. Then the Anglia and Bloom.
Can I just ask, is that 16,473? Is that all we need for that project, or?
I think that will be sufficient.
Okay, great.
I think that will be sufficient.
Lovely.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. At the moment, unless we get ambitious in our ideas.
Yeah.
Ambitious.
Which we always are.
Yes, we may well get more ambitious.
Yeah.
Okay, let's carry on, please.
I guess I think we should put Anglia and Bloom in for next year as well, because to reward all Nick's amazing work.
Yeah.
The team have done a super job on the site, and it'd be lovely to get Anglia and Bloom in for next year, because obviously they couldn't come out this year. So I think probably we should take that one forward definitely as one.
Okay.
And then the staff facilities, they hope that should be done in January, February, March. That's our goal anyway. Just to say that when we got the tenders back in, we only got one, and it was a half a tender, because we'd split the job into two sections so that people could either quote for the groundworks and the building works, or they could quote for both of them together, because we were advised to do that by Norse to get the best price, but we only had a half, so we've had to put it out again. So the closing date for that now is the 20th of November, and we're writing around different contractors again. I'm really surprised because we put it on the contract finder, we advertised it on our website, I wrote out to all the companies that we normally use. Some of them did write back to me and said because of what's happening that they were unable to quote, but we didn't hear back from quite a few as well. So So I think that will be completed. Priority C. Priority D, that's the external chapel repairs. I can't remember what's still to be done. Nick, do you know what still needed to be done with the external chapel repairs?
I think that it was the facing part as you go into the entrance. They'd done half of the work from the bellcot down, and they recommended that we finished off the lower part of that, if possible, and budgets allowed. So they done an initial half because we had the money available, and obviously the bellcot took quite a lot of money with the restoration because that was in quite a deteriorated state. But as far as I'm aware, it's the lower part further down from where they finished the top half.
So is that just the repointing of the lime mortar then?
It's basically, yeah, to rake out the cement mortar that was placed in and replace with lime mortar. Yeah.
I think we could get a local contractor to give us a quote to do that. Do you want to do that, Nick?
Yeah, I can certainly do that and look into that for you, no problem.
We know someone who's good at lime mortar work.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have a price.
We can certainly get him to quote for that, no problem.
Yeah. So I think we could, obviously that's the weather dependent because you need nice dry weather for lime mortar stuff. So we could probably do that around March time, budget allowing. So that should get completed this year. I think exploring using it as a wedding venue, I think any social stuff like that will not be happening this year. That might have to slide into 22, 23.
Yeah.
I think if we leave it in there, we're just setting ourselves up for not being able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to just shift that on for another year. Yeah.
The Friends of Thetford Cemetery. Did you have any thoughts about that, Dennis, Dave, Chris?
Not really. No, I don't think. I don't really know where we are with that. I don't think. I've not given it any thought or anything on that.
I mean, Nick has got some informal volunteers. Do you think we should just continue with a kind of informal arrangement? What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, we could put it out there to the public and just sort of get an interest, really, I suppose, on our social media and things, whether there would be anybody interested in, doing some volunteer work on the cemetery. Whether that be sort of deadheading the flowers or watering or, just little bits and pieces. But yeah, we can certainly see if there's any interest. And
is that something that you would manage, Nick?
Yeah, I can work with the volunteers. I generally sort of put aside time throughout the week, obviously, to fit those sort of jobs in. But any help would be much appreciated. And obviously, community involvement is always welcome. Yeah, definitely.
It would be. I think it would be good to formalise it a little bit more, because then at least we are aware of what is happening, and we can give our thanks to the volunteers as well and acknowledge what they're doing, and that could be an agenda item where we have a report on what the volunteers are doing and give them our thanks, and they could even come along to the meeting and tell us what they're doing. But we'll see. We'll see how that develops. Dennis, did you have something?
I think it would also be good, obviously, to involve them, with the Angler in Bloom and the bits that obviously we want to do within the town and the cemetery and, bits itself. So it'd obviously give that community involvement for that as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. So we could just take that one forward as well then.
Okay, yeah, let's do that then.
And then the final one was about new burial lands, and we've put that down for the GDTP partnership officer.
I think that was mentioned in the discussion at planning. Somebody brought that up. I'm not quite sure who, but I think it was mentioned when we were talking to forgotten his name now.
Jack
Weaver. Yeah. Thank you. But I just wonder whether we should make a more formal approach to Breckland or Breckland Planning when they're talking with the developers, because we're mainly looking at the Sue site for a potential site, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know whether an approach to the developers or it's probably through planning would probably be better. What do you think, Ros?
Yeah, but liaising with planning to put it on. So is it yeah.
Well, it'd be, I mean, even if it's not necessarily a very formal approach, just a reminder that we are looking for that, and can they keep that in mind? And if we've got, because I'm conscious that Jack was saying that he's looking at more at a strategic level, and so it may not be a massive priority for him to push that forward, but if we put it forward in more than one way, then maybe we'll hear a bit more. Have we got somebody with a hands up there?
Yes, yes, me.
Ah, okay.
Chris.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't. Yeah, well, it's got a +2 with a hand next to it, and I couldn't see who it was. So yeah, Chris, carry on, please.
I was trying to be technical and use the icons along the bottom of the screen. I won't do that again. I'll type it in next time.
Now you've started speaking, I can see who it is.
Going back a tad to where you was talking about volunteers, if I remember rightly, Brenda had a really good idea about setting up like a Friends of the Cemetery group. Yeah,
that was mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be something we should pursue. That's for sure. As long as Nick agrees and is happy, and they're under control, and we make sure they're health and safety conscious and everything's okay. But that's something we should really pursue. That was a really good idea by Brenda.
Okay. So can you take that on board, Nick, about forming a Friends?
Yeah, I'll certainly work with our media team, Joe and Tom, and see if we can put a sort of feel out there to see if there's any interest, and then we could go from that and obviously work on something. No problem.
Okay, lovely. Thanks very much. Okay, thanks for that, Chris. That's a good idea. Well, and thanks for Brenda as well. That was originally her idea. Thank you. Okay. Is that everything you needed to say on priorities, Ros? Or?
Well, it's just, is there anything else that the Cemetery Committee would like to put in for their 21-22 priorities, really? Is anything they'd like to discuss? And
so, I mean, I'll broaden that out. Anything that anyone wants to put in, and we've sort of skipped through it really with and I haven't really asked the councillors if they're happy with that. So if you're in agreement with what we've got, fine. If you've got any, if you aren't, then let us know. And we've got Chris Harvey again. Thanks, Chris.
I'm really sorry to be a pain, but the health and safety issue is coming up next. So I can, with the priorities, we could possibly put two together. I'm pleased to see that the staff facilities are going to be looked at within, or allegedly done by the autumn. They really got to be a priority, because the staff facilities at the cemetery are really poor, and we are selling our staff a bit short. I'd like to make sure that that is completed as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. David, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but
no, that's fine, Dennis. Carry on.
If I try to go to hands up, I come out fully out.
No, just chip in with a small committee. It works quite well if people just speak up.
I just missed all what Chris had to say. You don't have to go over it again. I'll read the minutes later. But yeah, I've got 3 more meetings today, and I don't know what I'm going to do if this keeps going. I got to chair one of them.
Okay. Well, Chris's point was just about under health and safety and about the staff facilities, and that we need to move on and get that done. So we're coming up to that, I think, shortly. So
thank you. The other thing is, David, when you mentioned to planning at Breckland, do we need to mention that we're looking to having it one of these cemetery?
A green burial ground.
Green burial site. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was one of the things we were talking about. Yeah. So.
Right. I missed it because of this.
No, I think we didn't say it. We didn't say it today, but we have said it previously. So yeah, thanks for reminding us of that, Dennis. So
yes, thanks,
so if you can do that, Ros, just mention that we.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we're looking for both, or I think the green burial sites are better in terms of the ecology. I think, aren't they? So. So we may not have. I think that one of the problems with the traditional burial site, I think, is the water quality monitoring and stuff like that. We'd probably still have to do it on a green one, but don't really know. But anyway, if you can take that on board, Ros. And I've got a hands up from Chris Harvey. I don't know if that was a previous one or whether you want something else.
No, that's the same one. I don't know how to get.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I'm back again. I've just lost it again with it.
Oh dear.
I'm going to have some after this meeting. Somebody talk to me because this is
Okay.
ridiculous, and trying to chair a meeting this afternoon is going to be absolutely useless. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Well, perhaps link up with Tom. I think so. Once the meeting's finished, that'd be good.
Thank you, David.
Okay. Right. Well, if there's no other comments from councillors, and I don't think I haven't got any other ideas for priorities. We've probably got enough to be getting on with. So I think we will move on to 39820, which is health and safety.
God.
Okay.
Yeah, did you want me to come in on that?
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to do that? Yeah. Come in straight away, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a really positive meeting we had with Colin and them on the cemetery thing. As I said,
Yep.
the chapel is really good. There are issues which we need to look at. The yard is not particularly safe. It's full of trip hazards, etc., etc. But I think, congratulations to Nick and the staff there because they're doing a good job. But as I said, it's something we really, really need to move on with because it's not right that our staff should have those facilities that they are. But apart from that, we was all quite happy. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for that, Chris. I'm assuming the trip hazards will be resolved by the work once it's done. I mean, they're not additional things, are they?
Well, it's the yard. There's all stones and stuff. The whole yard needs covering over properly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's going to be surfaced properly, isn't it? When the job is done. So that's good. Yeah, we do need to move on with that, and I think that that's something that is a priority. I think it's been difficult getting the work progressed because of COVID stuff, but
David, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm only on audio. I have no visual now.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave it alone because I can hear what you guys are saying. So
Right,
thank
that's good. Okay, thanks for that.
you.
But the first item on health and safety is to note that there are no issues of concern from the water testing report, and I think that I don't know if you've got anything to say about that, Ros, but I think the last one
No.
we did was very similar to the previous one, wasn't it?
Yeah, even with that terribly dry summer, there were no issues of concern. So good stuff.
Okay, that's great. And we've already discussed some matters raised. So I'll just come back to you, Ros, there. That how soon are we going to be getting on with the works yard stuff? Is that
Well, that was
that tender, isn't it?
It's in that tender. So
Yeah.
basically, the closing date's the 20th of November.
Yeah.
I guess I think the thing to do would just be to call one special meeting
Yeah.
after those tenders come in.
Yeah.
I'll put a diary date in with Nick after this meeting and yourself, Dave.
Okay.
And then you guys can actually assess the tenders at the meeting if we
Right.
send them round, and we'll get it done rather than bring people in to do alternate stuff. Well,
Okay.
because it's just as quickly as you can assess them, really.
Okay. So we can't really move any faster than getting those tenders in. So
No,
is there
I was-
anything that
I
we
was hoping we'd be deciding them today, but we
Yeah,
just didn't have enough.
be great if we could. I just wondered if there are any other mitigating things we can do in terms of the trip hazards, or whether it's just too much of an issue.
The guys have had some hardcore put in as a short-term measure, but is there anything we can do now until we get it properly surfaced?
Okay. Chris, you've still got your hands up there, but I'm assuming that's
No, that's
okay.
still
I'll
the
just
old one. I
ignore
don't know
that.
how to
Yeah,
get rid of it.
okay.
Just
Just whenever
ignore
I see it,
I'll
I
just-
think you want to ask another question, but that's all right.
just if I want to come in, I'll just holler. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing on health and safety that Nick brought up, the emergency lighting issue. I mean, that's not really an issue unless we're going to do something in the evenings, I believe. Is that?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we-
that's totally correct. Yeah, that was just a recommendation. If we do carry on to do like the Christmas services and evening services, and memorial services and things, he would just recommend. Obviously, we do have emergency lighting put in the building, but yeah, that's not an issue that we need to look at immediately.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
and to be honest, that's the only entrance and exit from the building. So if they've come in to the building. There's only one way out. They're not going to be looking for another way out. So I know, you know, it's a recommendation, but
Yeah.
I wonder if we can get a battery operated one we can stick on the wall that we can turn on during if it's only a few events. It doesn't seem worth.
If it's just one light, it's probably not going to be a massive expense.
Yeah.
It just depends if the cabling is in the near vicinity of that exit. But it might be worth getting a price for an emergency. I assume it's just one lamp needed, I guess. So if we can get a price for that, then at least we know what that's going to cost us. And it's unlikely that we're going to be doing anything this year, so there's no great urgency, is there?
No.
Okay, well, thanks for that. It's great that we've had a relatively good health and safety report, with the exception being the yard. So that's great. Anything else on health and safety that anyone wants to bring up? Not, we'll move on. So that's 39920. Peace comes to Thetford to receive an update. Have you got an update for us, Ros?
Well, I think it's you and Nick, really, because you were the one supporting Corinne in her fantastic project.
I'll let Nick go first.
Okay, so the recent update with Corinne and the team that are doing the garden, they've recently come up and obviously done the drone work that they needed to do to further their project along, and they've now remarked the graves without any issues of the contractor taking any of the markings out, which has been quite a good response. The other update was they've recently come up and also marked out the area where they're potentially going to have the small garden. And I believe Corinne had raised the concern of possibly one of the trees that we planted a few years back near to the location would possibly be an issue. But I did say to her that would be no problem. We could, move that to another site on the cemetery itself. So if that did interfere with the plans, that wouldn't be a problem moving it. But as far as I know, that's as far as we've got at the moment. I think Corinne's obviously working on plans and designs and things for the garden. But I'm still waiting to sort of hear and speak with Corinne about that.
Right. All right. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I did actually ring Corinne yesterday and had a chat with her, and she's very happy with the cooperation she's getting from staff, and she was very pleased that Nick was happy to move the tree. So so that's great. Thanks, Nick, for the work you've done there. I think the plans are that she wants it up and running and finished by the 11th of November to have some sort of opening. Obviously, it'll be quite a small opening because of the current restrictions, but she's hoping that the mayor will be able to come and there'll be an opening there, so that there'll be more news about that later. I think she's more or less ordered the notice board, and so work will be progressing fairly fast, I should think, if she wants to achieve that opening date. Okay, so any questions on that, or?
Chair, I've been out of the meeting almost all of it.
Oh,
I'm not
sorry,
sure
Dennis.
if we can even qualify this as a quorum because I haven't been able to hear or see the meeting. And how the
Dennis, I don't know what's going wrong because you're showing up the whole time as being in the meeting. So as soon as this is finished, I will ask Tom to give you a call. And we'll see if we can get something sorted for this afternoon.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's coming up with new things all the time, saying, do you want it on this device or transferred to another device and all kinds of things. I'm not being able to hear or see what's happening.
Okay.
Anyway, let you guys continue why I'm here.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, Dennis. And as far as the quorum's concerned, as long as we're not making any decisions, then I think we're all right.
Okay.
So
good.
when we come to a decision-making point, if we do need to make a definite decision on something, then we will make sure that we have got the 3 people that we need before we progress. So okay, that's Peace Comes to Thetford. And also, Dennis, if you want to have a chat with me afterwards, I can give you an update on some of the bits you might have missed. Great. So we'll move on then, unless anyone's got any other comments or questions on Peace Comes to Thetford. So that's 420, cemetery ashes area, wildlife garden and yard extension. And that's over to Ros, I think.
Yeah, so I've will send out a meeting invite after the meeting about the ashes area. I've made contact with the company and they're going to come out and do us a site visit. They basically do the whole of the install and the design process for us. So it'll be a kind of a one project that we will then agree to and they'll come and do. So that will be good. We'll get that one going. In terms of the wildlife garden, we have put that in. It's not in our priorities at the moment because is it in the priorities? Because I think we changed to our ashes garden because that was going to bring us revenue, and that we said we'd look at the wildlife gardens once the ashes area had been completed.
It is in there. It says to complete the installation of the ashes wall and creation of wildlife area.
Okay, all right.
So it is
it's
in
still
there.
there.
But,
we'll leave it in there. Yeah, okay, then we'll leave that in there. That's something we may have to look at, but we might need a bit more money for that. We might need a bit more money for everything, to be honest with you. But when we get the tenders, then we can have those conversations.
yeah, well, we can do the bits we can do, can't we? So I think this, you're right, the cemetery ashes area bit, because the potential for income is linked into that, would be the one we would move on first.
Yeah.
And the wildlife garden will do as and when we've got funds or.
Yeah.
Because I think is Mark's volunteer group going to do some work?
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
So
Definitely.
some of it's low cost, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other bit is about the yard extension, which is linked to our new contract and stuff. Nick, do you want to say a little bit about the creation of a new yard space on the other side by the gate? Do you want to have a chat about that?
Yeah, so obviously previously on the last meeting, I think we briefly mentioned about we would possibly require another little area to obviously put some bits and pieces, obviously from the contract that's set up now with ID Verdi. We are going to be sort of transferring a lot of the waste from like the hanging baskets, the hedges and things that they're trimming on different areas of the sites of the council. So we're going to be, creating a lot of material, obviously, possibly maybe a composting area, somewhere to sort of have our skips. And we initially talked about the left-hand side as you're leaving the cemetery through the wooden gates on the extension field, the corner just in the left-hand side. We was potentially going to propose to have as a area there, which would make access for the lorries, for skip collections a lot easier. We would obviously, aesthetically sort of hide that with hedging and things. I initially just got a price for hedging that area, and that came in at £417. But speaking with Mark, we have ordered a lot of hedging that's coming for areas for the council, and we think we're going to have sufficient amounts of hedging to do that at no cost at all. So that's now took that cost away. So it's just initially getting an agreement from the committee if you're happy for us to have that area. And obviously, like I say, we will screen it and gate it, so for health and safety and things, it will be secure.
Yeah. Okay. Then do we need to formally agree that then? Because I think in the minutes for the last meeting, we mentioned that it was agreed that in addition to the table to prepare a spoils area at the bottom of the cemetery in the left-hand corner by the wooden gates, the cemetery officer will add some additional hedging to hide this area. So we've got that. We agreed that, but it's not actually highlighted in bold. So what do you think, Ros? Do we need to formally agree that we're going to do that as there's some expenditure involved?
Well, yeah, why not? And should we put it into our priorities for? I suppose it will be done, and most of it will be done by next year, financial year anyway. Yeah, no, and that way, yes, let's do a vote on that. All right.
can I just say, it's Chris here. Can I just say, was it agreed at full council then that what we put in the last minutes?
Oh, yeah, so it probably has been approved then, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
There's
just
no
in the
problem.
minutes. It's not. It's normally
It's not, we didn't
highlighted
have
as
a
a
vote.
resolution, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
But
it does say it was agreed in the minutes.
yeah, there's no cost. I think it was agreed in the minutes. I think that's sort of okay.
Yeah.
sufficient.
Thank you. Mhm.
So if we just continue with that then, and
Yeah.
if at some stage we do need to spend any money on it, then we'll have to just agree to spend the money at a later date when it's needed.
Yeah.
Is that all right, Nick? Is Nick gone?
No.
Oh no, still there. Sorry, just moved.
Yeah,
Just moved again.
absolutely. Yeah, it's just getting an approval just to make sure you're happy for us to start that. We can obviously
Yeah.
at the end of this month start getting the hedging and things put in. So
Yeah.
initially the project will start taking place. Maybe later on there may be sort of surface and things, but that's a long way off. It's
Yeah.
obviously just getting that area available for that excess stuff. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
But you don't need any allocation of funds at the moment.
Not at the moment, no.
Right, great. That's good. That's fantastic. So we've already agreed that last month, last time. So
And I
Get
know what Nick's just said about starting on the project.
sorry, yeah.
I said I'll just note what Nick said about they're
Yeah.
going to start the project and that should be finished before the end of the winter.
Lovely. Yeah, that'd be great, Chris. Thank you. Right, are we all happy with those areas, or have we got any other questions under 420? Okay, we'll move on. 40120, correspondence and complaints.
We had some nice compliments, and Kerry and Nick have already talked about the complaint about the tree, which they've dealt with.
Right. Okay. That's good. Can I just say that I was when the drone footage was being done, I was down there with Corinne, and while I was there, a member of the public, two members of the public came up together, and they come from Bury St Edmunds. I can't remember what their names are now, and they just wanted to comment on how wonderful they thought the cemetery looked. And they said they've noticed a massive improvement in how the cemetery is looking over the last couple of years, because they regularly come over, and they were just really wanting to say how pleased they were with the way things were looked after and how respectful everything was. So that was great to hear, and so thanks to all the staff. That's great to get that sort of compliment, and it was lovely to meet those people. So thanks, Nick and Kerry, and all of you who are involved in that. It's great. Anything else on correspondence? I think we've covered everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so. Next item is 40220 committee officers update.
There hasn't been anything since the issue of the agenda. No, nothing else.
Okay. Well, I don't think we don't need to exclude the press or public, because we're not going to be looking at the tenders, are we? So
No.
well, we have talked about the tenders earlier, and we all know that that's going to be happening in November, and we'll probably be having a special meeting to look at those tenders and move that onwards. So that nobody else has got any comments or questions.